Hello, ladies. I'm Marakita, Joyful Relationship Expert, and I'm so excited to present Debbie Hampton. She's our guest today. She's an accomplished author. She's made amazing, she's made amazing strides in her life, recovering from a suicide attempt, resulting brain injury. She's an inspiration to all of us today. She's an amazing author. She's been in Huffington Post, Mind Body Green, and her website is The Best Brain Possible. So, I've been a big fan of Debbie's for years, so I'm really excited. And my boyfriend is very jealous that he's not in this group watching. So we're really lucky to have Debbie. So Debbie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Marakita. I'm glad to be here. I had somebody in LinkedIn that commented they wanted, and I said, it's for ladies only.
Too bad. I know, huh? Well, ladies, if you're watching, I see Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for joining. And if you're joining on the replay, give StreamYard your name, please, permission, so we can see who is commenting. And definitely we'll be watching out for comments. And if you have questions on how to rewire your brain, please post them, because we're here to help you. And Debbie's the expert on that. So let's get down into this. Can you, you've done so much with your life, Debbie. Can you tell me a little bit about how your whole journey started out, where you were, go ahead.
Sure. I just want to preface it by saying I am not an expert in relationships by any means, but I do know a lot about the brain and about mental health and changing your relationship with yourself, which is the basis for your relationship with everybody else. So in a way, I guess I do know a lot about relationships, although not firsthand. And
right.
It started, it's been a lifelong journey for me. And my mental health was not great until about my 40s or 50s. And I had a typical childhood. Middle-class parents that had the best of intentions and were intelligent. But as you know, this was in the 60s. Emotional intelligence was a little antiquated. And what is healthy is not necessarily healthy. So I didn't really learn coping skills or good mental health practices. I learned how to catastrophize, react dramatically, think negatively, and I learned depressive thinking patterns. And all that combined with my image and self-value, which I was the ugly duckling turned swan. In middle school, or back then we called it junior high, I was like a gangly preteen, not developed. I looked like Stick. My nickname was Monkey. And I wore the headgear and glasses. And by high school, I had blossomed. And the monkey, it was kind of nice to be on the thinner side. And I got taller and I got contacts and ditched the braces. And I made the cheerleading squad and started dating the best looking, most popular guy in the school back when they had those stupid voting labels. So my identity and value got all wrapped up in him, because I went from the ugly duckling to the swan on the outside. But on the inside, I never changed. I never gained confidence or value. And I erroneously thought my value was in my looks and my attachment with him. So that worked pretty well for a long time. I made it through college and married him, and we proceeded to move around following his career, even though I had a college degree in business from a very good school. I was more than willing just to take the back seat and let him lead and let him be important. And as he gained importance in his career and gained more money, he also gained more power in the relationship. So as he's growing, I'm shrinking. So, I mean, I never had a lot of confidence or self-value to begin with. So when you start taking away from that, there's not a lot to take away. And I did love him, and he loved me for what we knew love to be at that time. But it was a very codependent, controlling relationship about control and power more than authentic love. And what I know now is I grew up with a parent that was a narcissist or had narcissistic tendencies. And when in that situation, you tend to go one of two ways. You become the narcissist, or you become a wounded codependent. And I became the wounded codependent. And my ex-husband became a more powerful narcissist. So like I said, as he gained power, I got smaller. And I proceeded to take care of my brother, who for 2 years, who died of AIDS. So that was traumatic. And I had 2 sons and stayed at home. So while that's a joyful thing, as many women know, it takes away all your power in the world and a lot of your identity as your identity switches to becoming a mother and a homemaker and cooking and cleaning. So the marriage lasted 16 years, and I left the marriage totally broken and unhappy. And by the time I did leave, he had become emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, and I was totally broken from that, from my brother's death. I mean, I was a caretaker like most women tend to be. I put everybody else's needs above my own. And I got completely mentally, emotionally exhausted and depleted. And about, I would say, a couple years after the divorce, I'd moved to the state of North Carolina with my kids, where I grew up. And I had been dating another man for a year or so, and he was cheating on me. I mean, all the same stuff from my marriage, but a little bit better, but not much. And my ex had been suing me and dragging me through the courts all this time. And by now he was a millionaire, so he had money to do that. I did not. So my answer at the time, when the boyfriend broke up with me and the ex filed another lawsuit, was to try and kill myself or take my life by overdosing on drugs. Now, obviously, I didn't die. But what I did do was I severely brain injured myself. And I mean, when I was in the hospital for a week in a coma. When I woke up, I didn't know my second son had been born. I didn't know I'd gotten divorced. I couldn't talk. I couldn't control my bladder. I mean, I was severely brain injured. And my ex-husband promptly sued me for custody of the kids and took them away and moved to another state. So if I thought things were bad before, they got so much worse. And what I realize now is that I made them worse. But in a way, it was a blessing in disguise because the brain injury forced me to focus on myself. I had to recover. I mean, I had to every day put energy into rehabilitating myself and recovering. I mean, I didn't have the capacity or the energy to take care of kids or date or worry about any of the stuff that I was so worried about before. And the brain injury kind of was built in mindfulness. It forced me to live in the present because my memory didn't remember the past, and I didn't have the wherewithal to think about the future. And it forced me to be appreciative of the little things, like a cat sitting in my lap, or a good song coming on, or just being able. I mean, there were things that I took totally for granted before that I would celebrate now, like just being able to talk or walking normally. So it made me go back kind of square one. And as I was rehabilitating my brain, I learned a lot about how to rehabilitate the brain, but I also learned a lot about how to help yourself and heal emotionally. And I did that as well. This time I got to choose what built my brain and my reality and my mental health instead of just being the product of my environment, which we all are. But what I realize now, and what I want to tell everybody, is you don't have to be severely brain injured to do that. You can merely make the decision that you're going to change the way you think, and that the way you think actually changes your physical brain through something called neuroplasticity. What you think, what you visualize, your experiences, anything you do changes your brain. Now, and you can do that intentionally. And like I said, you don't even have to be brain injured. And that is the power that we all have to change our relationships with ourselves, which will change your brain and change your relationship with others, whether it's intimate relationships, work, or whatever. Okay, I'm going to shut up for a while.
Well, that's a very powerful story. I mean, I'm really impressed by your determination. And I've heard of people having gone into a coma. It reminds me of when they went into a coma, and then they were like, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to them, because they weren't holding on anymore to those beliefs that have been wired so deeply in their brain. They lost them all, and they were able to get up and go on. I mean, I heard of a man that fell, and he was like, I don't know, 2-pack smoker. And after, he went into a coma, came out of it, he had no idea that he was a 2-pack smoker, and it was gone. And none of his family told him, of course. So, I mean, it was like, oh my God, that's a miracle, to wake up and be a new person, and to take charge with all that heavy baggage hanging on you that you've been just reinforcing every day and focusing on, because that's like hitting save on the computer. Oh, my life sucks. Save. Yeah. Nothing's going to go right. Save, all those thoughts. So, I mean, the power in our brains is immense. So it's very interesting. And then your transformation into, as the the ugly duckling into something greater. I mean, it took a long way to get there, but that's very interesting. And how do you think your idea was formed as a young girl? Where did that start? Where did you get that idea of yourself?
Well, all of us, our self identities are formed based on primarily our caretakers and our interactions as children. And those form what are subconscious memories. And mine wasn't traumatic, but I mean, like I said, unless you get authentic interaction and love, you're going to develop wounds and needs, and that becomes your subconscious. It's primarily made up of your wounds and your needs and painful experiences, and that becomes the filter through which we see the world. And believe it or not, the world, our realities are subjective because we filter them through this subconscious garbage. And we may interpret things badly or negatively that aren't, but we're putting that spin on them. And what I realized is that we have the power to become aware of that filter and say, no, I'm not going to believe that. That doesn't work for me anymore. I want to believe this, and this is what I want to think. And that is the way that we all can reprogram our negative thinking and our negative reactions that we may have learned from our parents or church or school or wherever. And because of neuroplasticity, if you do that over time, that actually physically changes your brain patterns and the chemicals and the way it operates. So, I mean, depression is basically a brain pattern, a learned brain pattern. Now, your brain patterns and activity create your biochemistry and manifest, of course, as physical symptoms. But if you interrupt any part of that process on a regular basis, you change, whether it be physical, mental, whatever. So, I mean, we all have the power to change our realities right down to our brains by changing our thinkings, the way we think. And you can do that by practicing mindfulness, visualization, affirmations, meditation, whatever feels right to you. Even interacting with other people, I don't know. Music is huge, but if you want different results in your life and your relationships, you have to do something different.
Yeah, and they say that gratitude is the most powerful force against depression. And then what you just said about depression, I don't remember exactly what you said, but what did you say? What kind of state it was? I mean, a created state? I don't remember what you said, Debbie.
I said it's a brain pattern.
Okay, a brain pattern. So that makes sense.
Learned way of thinking. And I'm not, I mean, people can get real upset. I'm not saying it's not physical, but your thinking affects your physiology, and your physical affects your thinking. I mean, it's a feedback loop. And what I said was you can interrupt any part of that process with awareness. And like you said, gratitude, mindfulness, visualization, all of that is a way to interrupt the the pattern, the loop. And if you do that repeatedly over time, you physically change your brain. You can change the chemicals in your brain. You can even change your body. I used
Wow.
I used visualization a lot to recover from my brain injury. I would visualize like my brain healing. And they've done studies that neurons fire and your body secretes chemicals, whether it's real or imagined. Your body doesn't know the difference. I mean, for the most part. And think about it. A lot of these things we do unconsciously, hurting ourselves when we envision what we're scared of, or the worst case scenarios, or our fears. What are we doing? You're telling your body that that's happening. So your body responds as if it is. But we can just as easily use the process in reverse to help ourselves.
Yeah, you're right. Like watching a scary movie, your body doesn't know that it's not real. You're still sweating and getting, upset and shaking. So yes, I mean that's the power of that. I mean, being able to put that thought out there and to, in a way, trick your body into saying, well, your body's always listening, to what your thoughts are. If you say, what, I'm incredibly healthy, then your body's going to want to support that. Your body's going to say, if you keep saying that enough, your body's going to say, okay, I'm incredibly healthy, so I'm going to look for something healthy in the fridge. I'm not going to want to eat those cookies, because I mean, the more I say it, or anyone says it, the more it is wiring into our brain, and the more that you can help yourself to be an attractant in relationships, with those powerful thoughts. Because I mean, all this did in fact affect your relationship. I mean, you became smaller, and that hurt your relationship. Relationships are thriving when two people are growing together and uplifting each other. So, yeah, when you shifted everything, and when you came out of the coma, I mean, that was a whole new Debbie with a whole new thought pattern and awareness to, really develop yourself to, if you did want a relationship, to be that lady that is healed and knows how to take care of herself. And there's nothing more attractive than that. Than a woman, that is taking care of herself and is not going to stand for any of this smallness, and shrinking, but always being aware of what her needs are, and being very mindful, like you're living very mindfully,
What I've
So,
learned is that you teach people how to treat you in relationships by the way you treat yourself. And
mm,
what you allow in your own life is what you will see in your relationships. So you have to take care of yourself. And growing up with a narcissist and having a narcissist as a husband for 18 years, I remember I used to tell myself the last thing I ever want to be is selfish. But you know what? Dalai Lama has something he calls wise selfish. And you do have to be a little bit wise selfish and take care of yourself and get your needs met and be happy and healthy before you can authentically give to anyone else. I used to be a huge giver, but a people pleaser, but I gave to give back, or because it was a kind of insurance policy. I thought if I gave and gave and gave, that assured people would be nice to me or love me or give back to me. Wrong. What you end up doing is attracting takers and people that are more than happy to take and take and take. And you end up getting depleted. And like me, to the point, I just thought life wasn't worth living. I thought I wasn't worth living. So what I've realized is that you have to be, I have to be a little bit selfish to be happy and healthy. And you have to get comfortable with saying no and setting boundaries. But it doesn't mean you have to become the narcissist. There is always a nice way to say no. And there's usually something in between a yes and a no that will work. But you can't just give and give and give and expect to give back, because it doesn't work that way. And it also is not authentic. I mean, it places expectations on people, and you're almost always going to be disappointed. So the person that is the best suited to fill your needs is you.
That's true. And that, when you're giving and giving and giving, you're not being respectful to yourself. I mean,
Right.
that's not being honorable to who you are. I mean, who we are isn't someone that's just over giving. I mean, that's not really what our hearts want. When you really tune in, they want a nice balance. I mean, it should be a give and take in all relationships, no matter what kind of relationship. So that's very interesting. And does anybody have any questions? I did want to ask you one more thing. Well, I have a billion questions, but, we're talking about when ladies are saying, there's no good men out there. I was thinking about that the other day, and how that is, that's wiring for that, so can you talk a little bit about that when you're saying there's no good men out there? I'll never find a nice guy. I only go out with jerks. What would you say to that, Debbie?
Well, I would say that I would come up with a set of affirmations, like positive statements that are what you want to create and what you want to live. I'm not a big believer in the law of attraction or any of that, but I do believe that if you set the optimistic, hopeful intention, it's going to change your mindset and it's going to change your brain. So, for instance, I've written a couple books and I'm trying to write a third, and it's taking forever. So what I tell myself every morning is that I'm a writer and the words flow through me. And I tried to tell my son to say affirmation. He says, but I don't believe them. And I say, I don't care if you believe it. What you're doing is stating what you want. And you're directing your mind and your thoughts to something positive instead of negative. And I'm not saying don't think negative. You can't control what you think. I really get upset with this whole just think negative movement, because you can't. That itself is placing pressure on you. You can't control what you think, but you can control how you respond to the thoughts you think. So if you find yourself thinking there are no good men out there, then go, wait a minute, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, I'm going to work on myself and attract a good man. I am capable of having a healthy relationship and being loved. I tell my son and I tell myself every day, every decision you make, you ask yourself, do I want to help myself or do I want to hurt myself? And when you're thinking thoughts or, I don't know, doing things, ask yourself, is this helping me create the future relationships that I want and the reality I want? or is it taking me away from that? And what that really is mindfulness, is living and thinking and acting with conscious intent. I'm not saying you can wave a magic wand and create reality, but I'm saying you can control your mind. I'm not, like I said before, you can't control the thoughts that spontaneously pop up, but you can guide your thoughts and your mindset with mindful awareness. And that will change your brain. And I guarantee you, if you do it enough and long enough, it will change your life and your relationships.
That's true. I mean, it's all true, because if you say, I mean, whatever you set your intention on, your brain is going to start to work for you to look for that. You know, if you say there are good men out there, your brain's going to try to help you find them. And if you say there's not any, your brain's going to try to help you say, okay, if that's true, your brain is there to support you. So you're in charge of your brain. You know, this is so exciting, Debbie. But was there anything else? I know we need to, unfortunately, come to a conclusion sometime, but was there anything else, any more things that you'd like to share with us?
Well, my only parting words of wisdom would be to work on yourself and your own life and your own mental health and your own happiness. And then you will attract, you'll be healthy and you'll attract a healthy partner. If you're still wounded and emotionally unhealthy, you're going to attract somebody. It's like puzzle pieces that fit together. You're going to attract someone whose wounds fit your wounds. And if you get busy and involved with hobbies and activities, fitness, well, right now we can't do a lot, like in person. But if you get busy and involved and engaged in your own life, you will find other people, men who are also at the same level and have the same interest, instead of coming from a place of need or want or lack. And it's not going to attract what you want or what you're going to be happy with in the long run.
That's very true. Wow, this has been a very powerful conversation. So I really want to thank you for that. And ladies, if you have any questions, you're watching on the replay, go ahead.
Can I just say, I've got 2 books. And
yeah, tell us about that. And Debbie, I want you to make sure to post the links to your information, where the ladies can find you. Post all that in the comments later.
All right. If you like what I've talked about changing your brain, I've got one book called Beat Depression and Anxiety, and it's about neuroplasticity and how you practices that you can incorporate into your own life every day, simple things that will actually change your brain and your mindset. And then I've got I can't get it centered. Another one called Sex, Suicide, and Serotonin. And it is about relationships. And it's about my marriage and how I got to the place in life where I thought ending my life was a good thing. And then my revelations and discoveries and mental health, how rehabilitated physically, mentally, and spiritually, and emotionally. And I've been told it's really a self-help book in disguise. But it's also a thrilling read.
I bet it is. You know, I've got to get those books. And you know what? I mean, I encourage everyone watching to get to Debbie's Facebook page, sign up for her emails. She's always encouraging and just showing you not just a hokey pokey way to do it. I mean, this is science-based stuff. So I want you all to follow her. I mean, she's got these great books. I mean, she's an amazing writer. So please take her up on it and make sure you post in the comments, Debbie, where they can find you. And
Sure thing.
this has been exciting. So hopefully I can have you on here again because I love this interview. All right. Well, thanks, ladies, for joining. And thank you, Debbie. And everyone, I hope you have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye.